How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech, and also to my look at this crazy cool RGB gaming table from a Cooler Master. Now, we've seen a bunch of gaming tables all around. I even built a custom one myself as also, but what makes this one so unique is, of course, it has a built-in RGB. It has a cable management already just built in where you don't have to worry about anything. And then also, pretty cool is that it can actually go up and down just like that if my plant isn't in the way over there. So yeah, you do have a couple of options. Now you can actually buy this table yourself. You can just take it down all the way again, whereas in the shot. Now this is the GD160 ARGB gaming table, again from Cooler Master, and you can actually buy it yourself. Now it's not the cheapest. It is retailing for around $900 on Amazon when it's actually available, and I'm not exactly sure on the pricing for here in South Africa, so I'll still have to check on that one. Now if that is a bit too much for you, you do also have the option of getting the GD160 non-RGB. It's not in the name, but it's the non-RGB version, which can also adjust up and down, but it doesn't feature the dual electric motors like this one. It's mechanical, and it only goes up between like 20 centimeters or so not a lot. But if you still want RGB, you do have the GD120 ARGB, which isn't able to go up and down. It's also shorter, it's only 120 centimeters, but you do have that option as well. And I think both of those are retailing for around like $350-ish. I'll just leave links in the description below because the prices and the availability does differ quite a lot. Now, just before we get into all of the other features, let's quickly talk about the build quality, because you want your desk to be as sturdy as possible, and I am happy to say that this desk is one of the most sturdiest. Now, I do actually have a couple of these sit-stand desks. One is just a frame and one is actually a complete table, and they're pretty good, but I have to say that this is one of definitely better than the ones that I actually own. So for the top, let's talk about that first. So it is a chipboard aluminum steel combo where the internal is chipboard, but on the sides and in the middle and so on it's aluminum, and then also some steel with the frame and so on. Now you do have the more silver and a black color scheme going on with some purple on the sides, but the main section on the top is a non-scratchable surface. I didn't test that myself, but I'll trust Cooler Master on that one. And then also just a nice little addition is that you actually do get an extended mouse pad along with the desk as well. Now, as for the dimensions of the tabletop, it is 160 centimeters wide, and it does have a depth of 75 centimeters. So that's pretty decent, but I do think this 160 is right there in the middle. If you want to have a triple screen setup, you'll be able to get that in. And then also if you want to have your desktop on the table, you will be able to, along with 2 additional screens. So perfect fit. Even if you just want to add one, you can add your little Darth Maul thingy majiggy bear here as well. So I just think this is a perfect size where it's not too big but also not too small. Now you might be wondering about the height of this desk. So talking about the frame, it is a fully steel. It's pretty beefy. The legs, you don't have to worry about anything. It's a pretty solid. Again, it doesn't wobble around or anything. So you do get dual motors on this one, where if some other sit-stand desk, it's only a single motor or a dual motor. The dual motors does support heavier weight, and also it's usually a bit faster to go up and down. Now this one has a max capacity of 100 kilograms and 220 pounds, something like that. Now I'm not sure if they actually calculate the top in as well, because the top is around like 20 to 25 kilograms on its own. So I won't be able to sit on top of the desk and go up and down. I'm a bit too heavy for that, but you will be able to if you're a lot lighter. Let's just go with that. But you don't have to worry about the weight, because most likely your entire setup is not going to weigh more than 100 kilograms. So you should be fine for that. Now, as for the height adjustments, it does start at 65 centimeters, which is its lowest, and goes all the way up to 1.3 meters, which is probably a good level if you want to stand. If you're over 2 meters, I'm 1.86 meters or 6.1 foot, and that's even too high for me. So if you're over 2 meters, I think it'll still work, but I found the sweet spot for me is around 1.1 meters. That's where it's a pretty nice standing and working level for me. Now, like most other standing electronic discs, it does have 3 levels of memory profiles, which you can set manually between at the lowest, at the highest, and in the middle, wherever you want. So I put it at 65, 1.3, and then 1.1, just show you guys the different levels. But it's pretty easy to adjust. Just press it once, and it's gonna go up and down and do all of its things. So let's quickly just take it down again. So it's pretty simple there. And again, it's quite fast. It's faster than my other 2 dual motor sit-stand discs. Now, if you were worried about you putting your desktop underneath your table and it's higher than that, or you put something underneath the desk and it goes automatically down, you don't have to worry, because it does have a collision detection system where if it does feel any pressure, it's actually going to stop and go back up a slight bit, so you don't have to worry about it actually crushing, damaging the motors and also the item underneath. Now, it doesn't stop immediately, it does press down a bit, so if it is something very fragile, it might actually push that down or damage that, so just make sure. But if it's something surreal, again, like a case, I have actually forgotten my case or even monitors underneath the desk, it does go down on it and then goes back up, and luckily nothing has broken or damaged yet, so I'll just keep that in mind. Now, another feature that this desk has that my others do not is that actually on the control unit on the right side, it does actually have a USB fast charging port, so you can connect your cable there and actually charge your device. Or if you have a wireless charging station, you can actually use the cable there, plug it in, and you'll be able to charge your phone or whatever. Pretty handy actually to have it built into the desk, so you don't have to worry about using additional cables or running a charging brick underneath the desk as well. Now, let's get into the fun part about this desk, and of course that is the RGB on the front and at the back. Now, you don't have any RGB on the side here. They did need to add some more reinforcement there, probably to keep the desk more sturdy and increase the durability of the desk, but that's entirely fine. You have it on the front and at the back. Now, maybe they could have added the RGB here on the Cooler Master logo as well. Maybe a bit too much, I'm not exactly sure, but I think that would have been quite cool also. Now, you don't have any RGB underneath the desk, it's only here again on the front and at the back. So possibly, if you want to, you can add some additional RGB strips underneath here and also give additional underglow as well. Now, I'm happy to say that you don't have any LED hotspots here. We can actually see the individual LED. It's nicely diffused, where it's just a nice seamless glow going on. So if you were wondering how to control the RGB, you do actually have 2 options. You can either use the A button here on the controller itself, which is pretty handy. So if you don't have your system connected, you can just control it through this, where you do have 7 different effects. So you do have your spectrum cycle effects, you do have your line that just goes that side and then back again. You have your collision effect, where it's from both sides, where it's going to meet in the middle and then jump back. Nothing too exciting really there. You do have your breathing effect in one color. You do have your line that just goes right through pretty slowly. You do have just a single color that you can choose, and then also off. So you do have those. Otherwise, you can control it through the Cooler Master Plus software. So you do again have the exact same effects here, but you can adjust the speed from the RGB glow as well, the spectrum cycle, also the direction, which doesn't work now. You have your reload effect, which you can change the speed, and then also the color. It's just going to start back every time you do that. You have your recoil effect, again going in the middle, breathing. We just have a few different effects that you can actually adjust to get your preferred effect. But I like the spectrum cycle. It just gives it a nice constant color and glow, which for me is perfect and also not too fast. And then also, of course, you can sync it with all of your other RGB products like our MM830 here or our MK850 keyboard as well. Now, cable management, of course, is a major part for any gaming desk. You don't want to see any of your cables at the bottom. Unfortunately, we do have a power cable there. That's the only cable that you can easily see. So you do have some cable management raceways and trays and everything here, which here at the back, just behind our monitor, we do actually have a cutout there with some rubber covers for your cables to actually go route through towards the bottom, where you can easily cable management everything there, because as well, there is a cable tray there where you can neatly hide your cables, and then also you can actually put in a multi-plug in there as well, a power plug. But the only problem that I had is that my plugs is quite thick, and I'm not sure about other countries' power plugs. For here, I wasn't able to connect my 2-point plugs. We do have 3-point and 2-point plugs here, so I wasn't able to add my 2-point plugs because the height that you actually get isn't enough. So I was only able to add our 3-point plugs, and also only 3 of them because there was only thin enough multi-plug that I actually had. So it would have been nice if the tray actually had a bit more height available, where you can add more cables and also a thicker multi-plug and so on, with different plugs on each side. I'm not sure, but it would have been nice if I actually had that. But that's not the only tray you actually get. Something that I wish my desk had as well is that where your power supply or your control box is for the desk, and all of the cables from each of the legs and also the control unit and so on. On my other tables, I need to use the cable ties and everything to actually get it there, and use Velcro strips and all of that to actually neatly hide it. Otherwise, it does dangle down and it just doesn't look neat. Whereas on this desk, you actually have a cover there, which you just pop in there, and it's going to hide all of those cables as well. Looks very, very neat. But yeah, that is pretty much it for my quick look at the Cooler Master GD160 ARGB gaming RGB desk. If you want to get it for yourself, I will leave links in the video description, and also check if it's actually going to be available for here in South Africa. If it's not possible, you can ask Cooler Master if they can actually special order you one if you really wanted one. But again, it is quite expensive, so it's going to cost quite a bit. Now, if you possibly want to see one in person, I know Cooler Master does have a physical store now in Sandton. I'll just get the exact address for you guys, and I'll add that in the description as well. They have an entire store there. It looks pretty cool. I haven't been there myself, but I just saw some Instagram photos and everything. It looks pretty nice. So if you're in the area, go visit them, check them out, and you can also ask some additional questions and just see some of their other products there as well, because again, they do have a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, big shout out to Cooler Master South Africa for sending it over for our video. Now I'm going to have to take everything apart and send it back, which is going to be fun. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.